Welcome to the Max Bet Podcast, a podcast dedicated to everything gaming. I'm Landon Jones, here with Mike McKiskey. Let's get started. Action.
What's going on, brother man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Just hanging out in San Diego. It's been raining this week, which has been awesome. I love it when it rains here.
Yeah, it's weird. Vegas is similar. So we had rain. We got dumped on yesterday, I think it was. Day before, whatever, recently. And then today it's sunny and beautiful. It's like 60 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And then they're saying by Tuesday it could snow. So I have no idea what's going on here. It's just like, thank God we're quarantined. You can just stay inside and watch all the weather out the window.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, exactly. It's a laundry. It's a closet roller coaster. You have no idea what to throw on.
My parents live in Nashville, and there it could be 80 degrees. The next day it'll rain. The next day it'll snow. And then you have hurricanes, and then it's beautiful again. It's just like
hurricanes in Nashville. I guess they make. I didn't realize they make it all the way up there.
Yeah, not hurricanes. That was. Will they get after effects of hurricanes? But I was talking more tornadoes.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, that was.
That's
really
all right. Fun fact. Fourth grade, I played the Wizard of Oz. I was the Cowardly Lion in the Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
And if you ever notice in that movie, you the lion, the scarecrow, and the Tin Man are all the farmhands from Dorothy's farm. So I also had to run across stage shouting, "It's a twister!" Right? Thankfully, I've never seen one, but that's anytime somebody mentions tornado, I'm in the fourth grade once again. So
were you the biggest kid in your class?
Yeah, that's how I got cast as the lion. I don't think it was my personality. I think they're like, just give it to the animal kid that's like should be in 8th grade, but is in 4th grade. So
and you're still a lion. Look at that.
Still a lion. I try. Yeah, working on it. Cut the mane, but we'll work it out.
Nice, man. So we had you in California last week. That was fun.
It was like I was the only one there. It felt like. I mean, for one of the most populated states in the union, it felt like a ghost town, especially by your house.
Yeah,
it was a little different up as we got a little further north, but it was like, man, weird. I got first time ever. I check in the hotel. I got my suitcase, right? I'm rolling it in, and the guy goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "What am I doing? It's a Hilton. I'm walking in. I'm checking in for a room." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah. We haven't seen a lot of people." I'm like, "Yeah, I noticed. Like, I felt like I was the only one driving in." So, yeah, it's a little creepy over there now. How are you surviving that? I mean, is it nice for you going, "Hey, no one's here messing with me," or are you just going, "This is brutal"?
It's a little weird, man. I don't know if everyone else feels this way, but like when we first started the Zoom meetings and I was doing Zooms with customers, it was kind of fun. It was like this new experience, you know, you had to like
drinking,
Zoom with your
cheersing.
Yeah, everybody's cheersing. And now it's just like, I don't want to do another Zoom call. And then nobody's really taking meetings. It's just kind of it's weird, man. I would say it's the calm before the storm, but the storm's already come. And so it's like the calm after the storm, which is even crazier, you know. Casinos have budgets, but they're kind of holding on to their budgets and waiting to see what else happens. And then you can't really get in front of people. It's just a weird time for California, at least.
It's not that different from most play. I mean, there's definitely some markets that are more open than others, but we'll see, man. Hopefully, things subsides and we don't get a whole new scare with the new variation and all that. It'd be good. So,
yeah, hopefully we can get our vaccine soon and get back to normal life and people's stop eating weird animals.
You know what I laugh about? So somebody was talking about this the other day, and I've never been a big at-home poker game guy, right?
Yep.
Like just, the guys in the neighborhood. And I think one of the guys in the neighborhood's like, I might put a game together. We're all sitting around bored. Like we're all reasonably quarantined. So it's like, why don't you just come over to our house instead? And normally I'd go, I don't know, dude. I got the kids like poker, right? But I'm going, sign me up. As soon as you want to do it, sign me up. So looking forward to playing poker, which I'm looking forward to getting hopefully some tips from our guest today. See if he can.
That's what I was going to ask. Is just say, are you want to play poker because we're getting ready to interview a professional poker player?
Maybe the universe works in weird ways. Maybe it's just he's coming. So the world's telling me, hey, talk to him. Go lose your money in the neighborhood. See what happens. But maybe it could be that.
Yeah, man. I'm just to kind of give you guys a glimpse into 2021 with who we'll be interviewing.
Yeah.
Mike and I are really kind of starting to spread our wings in terms of the guests that we're going to have on the show. So we have a professional poker player today, still do some operators, still do some, CEO vendors. But I've got scheduled a guy that does the mental mind frame of the gambler. So that could be addiction gambling or like a professional poker player mindset or kind of the energy that you get from gambling. So I'm really excited to dig in to him. And then we've got a guy coming on that's does game security, which will be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's right.
Who do we have next week?
Next week. So we're talking to Buddy Frank.
Yep.
Right. So everybody loves Buddy. Who's your buddy? And then an interesting cat. So a guy named Dermot Smurfit, who's the CEO of GAN. We're going to be talking to him, I think, in the next week or so, and then the interview will follow. He's blowing up right now. I feel like online gaming, Game Account Network, GAN is a company. It's everywhere. So we're looking forward to chatting with him. And
yeah,
interesting. He's Irish. So back to our show being friendly for accents. Can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty excited. Let's jump into, his name is Joe Tehan. So
yeah, pro. He's so it's interesting. So I didn't know a ton about him, and then I looked him up, and I was like, oh, I know exactly this. Like you see him, and then you go, yep, I've seen you on TV, and he's cashed in the World Series of Poker 30 times, which is insanely hard to do. Yeah, so main event guy, other event guy, and then he's actually won one of the World Poker Tour events. So I think that was a huge cash money for him. So we'll ask him about that. But
yeah, I think his biggest win was over $1 million in one game. That's
what the internet says. We'll have to confirm that. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty cool. So I'm excited to chat with him. So we'll let's bring him in, Mr. Joe Tehan.
We haven't had a poker player on our podcast yet, so I'm pretty pumped for today. And I have a bunch of questions I want to ask you. But you just came back from a tournament, right?
Yeah. I just went up. I made a pretty good run. I got like 36th out of 691 players over at the Win.
Jeez, wow.
Yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable.
And does that pay at 36?
Yeah, so they usually pay about 10% of the people.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, you get your money back. Like it was a $600 buy-in, and I won like 2,100 or something. But first place is like 40 or 50,000. It's just like, damn, that's what you're looking at the whole way.
Yeah, no doubt. You're probably feeling it. I mean, you got as good a chance as any, I feel like, given your history and being one of the top players. So that's got to be, exciting. How long does that take? Do they resolve that in a day, or is that a multi-day thing?
Yeah, no, that was like, so they had all of day one, and they play down to about 10% of the field.
Yep.
Which at that point we were like 2 tables away from being in the money.
Sure.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah, if you make it through the day, it's nice to get some money back. But yeah, and then the tournament ended on the second day. It's like good format. You get plenty of play. It was fun.
Nice.
So you're going to be getting back into poker more now? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I think so, man. I'll tell you, after like COVID and being trapped inside, I was just like, they got the plastic up on the tables and everything. Like it's super well protected, and a lot of people are just kind of over COVID-ish right now, and which but yeah, I definitely getting out like yesterday and whatever, just playing a tournament and like enjoying that. Like it feels like a lotto almost. Like it's just like a really fun feel, and it's like the further you get, the more excited you get, the more nervous you get. Even now for me, like this is 18 years of doing these things, and it's still fun. It's still like exciting.
Yeah, are you guys wearing masks as you play on the table? Because that's got to change people's facial expressions and telltale signs. Because I would be looking at your mustache, whether like seeing if there was a twitch.
Yeah, he plays with it. It means his hand is good, right? Yeah, he's about
with the mask. No telltale signs.
I can go all in and like stare at the guys, like give him a funny look.
Yeah, but it's got to be different, right? Like, because I'm assuming, and maybe not, like, what are some of the key tells? Is it usually facial expressions on new players, or is it all hand stuff? I mean, I don't know. Would the mask really matter that much to, when you're reading?
So a lot of poker players will say, oh, I look at this, I look at that. And for me, I think all of that is BS.
Yeah.
Sunglasses and like whatever else at the table, it's all like pretty much BS in my opinion. Like I don't use any of that like information when making decisions. Like you could be like and maybe I do subconsciously, where I've just done it so long that I do subconsciously, but for the most part, I don't think I use any of that stuff. I think it's way overrated.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the guys that come to mind when I just think of poker, the top guys, maybe they'll have sunglasses on, but for the most part, it's just straight up and they're just chatting with you going, you're bluffing. I got it.
Yeah. Like
it's like, how did you know that? Right? Like I'm looking at the cards because I'm watching at home going, this is amazing how he knew that. But yeah, that's wild, man.
I always hated the people in the casino. Anyone in a casino with sunglasses on is just straight douchery to me, in my opinion. And I'm going to go ahead and call it out. Like, why do you have sunglasses on?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, I do that at the table sometimes too. And like, I'll do something. I'll be like, man, do you got aces really? And the guy will just look at me seriously. He'll take his sunglasses and he won't even answer. Right? He's just like, oh.
No, I don't.
And I'm like, all right, dude, like settle down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's got the glasses with the little earpiece headphones. You can't see him now. He's got his mask. You're just pretty much playing like a blank face.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned being nervous going later in the tournaments. Even, again, like you've seen thousands of hands, been playing for almost 2 decades, if not, formally, maybe before that. But like, I'm surprised to hear that. I guess what is it for you that makes it nervous? Just the fact, like, hey, you're in the money, and it's now the difference between 2,000 and 50,000, or like where the nerves kick in for you?
I mean, so I think for a lot of people when they're first playing like a poker tournament, they're just thinking like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want to like look stupid, right?
Yep.
But for me, it's like I don't care how stupid I look. I'm like, damn, I really wish this is the day that I get the lucky C and I just run hot and win the 40,000, or win the 50,000 or whatever it is. It's like, for me, it's still the money. Like every time, even like, wow, I get a pay jump. That's like another $1,000 or whatever it is. It's just like, so it is the money. I've accepted the fact that like I'm in control of a lot less than I think I am, or like, especially in the beginning of my career, I thought I would be really hard on myself when I did bad, whatever. But like now I've kind of accepted the fact that like, I kind of know what I'm doing and I'm not like too stressed if I make a bad play or whatever.
Yeah. How much would you attribute to like the luck of the cards or the seat versus the skill, right? Because obviously there's a skill element. But to your point, like you got to have the cards at some point. You can't bluff every time, right? Like at some point you have to have whatever it is, aces or big hand. So what do you think the ratio is there, like for folks?
So like the cool part is for like any given tournament, it's really, if you know what beats what, like you have a fighter's, a puncher's chance or whatever they call it, right?
Sure,
I mean, it's just, that's what it is. It's like, the way I kind of look at tournaments now, it's like a lottery, right? So like we're all, you got 100 guys, like, they each get one lotto ticket. Like, maybe your lotto ticket, if you don't play a lot, is worth like a half a ticket, and maybe mine is worth 2.5 or 3 tickets, right? But it's not like, there's the skill edge or difference is minimal, especially with like in any one given tournament for sure.
Yeah. See, I think I used to run poker tournaments and I've dealt poker before when I was in operations, but I don't have the mindset for a poker. I can know all the poker games. I know all the hands. I know how the game works, but I get bored. I have ADD, right? So I'll be in for 2-3 hours and I've got a big stack. I'm like, I'm just bored. And then I just start making stupid decisions because I'm tired. It's like my money management skills. I'm either going to win or lose. And that can be dangerous, by the way.
Sure.
So there's got to be a mental mindset to playing poker. Is that right? Or is it just you're having the day? And
I mean, like for me, it's, I'm in there, I'm just enjoying myself. A lot of times in poker, like for the most part, you're only playing like 25% of the hands or 25% of the hands, something like that. So you're folding like 80% of the time. So like, for me, if my mindset's not right, I'll take some of those hands that I like folding and I'll just like, walk or just go for a walk. Yeah. Go outside, have a smoke, like whatever, it's just, I mean, in a tournament, you don't want to do that as much, but like whatever, they give you plenty of breaks and stuff. So I'm like, I don't think there's anything like specifically with your mindset. You just got to be able to like, I guess, power through some of the hours of it, but usually it's fun enough, I think. So
interesting.
Yeah. You play with like, to your point about powering through the hours, do you play with music in your, I don't even know if that's allowed. Like, can you do that? Or you just got to sit there, no audio, just going, all right, 14-hour day here,
No, for sure. Yeah. It's actually all that being, it is allowed. And it's kind of taken away from like the social element of the game.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just like, look at their cards, fold back on their phone. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, so, yeah, kind of. It has taken away from the social element of the game a little bit, but I try not to do it much. Like when I'm out there playing.
So I've got 3 speed round questions for you. This is just kind of I just got a text in. So this is from Sorrel Mizzy, who is another poker player.
Right on the spot.
Nice, let's hear it.
Yeah. So these are the questions he wants me to ask you. Your most memorable hand.
Deuce 4 offsuit against aces and queens.
Oh, geez.
Did you win?
Yeah.
Nice.
The river?
Gil,
Catch it?
Yeah.
4, yeah. Don't know.
That's so good.
His poker story.
Oh my gosh. I guess damn, let me think of a funny. I mean, I'm sure I got some like funny ones. I mean, the Deuce 4 one is like
break it open.
that was crazy. It was a really, really crazy. It was back like when there were huge buy-in tournaments all the time. I think it was like 2008 or 2009 or sometime around then. But Annie Duke started this like poker series, and it was like, from my understanding, she wanted to make it like the PGA Tour of golf almost, where you had to like qualify to get into this poker series. So I was in the top 200 people of the world at the time, and like only the top 200 people in the world got to play. And there was like $500,000 added, and it was a 20K buy-in or something. So I'm like, well, shit, if they're adding $500,000, I'm going to play this thing, right? And so we were down to 14 players, and they paid 12 players, and the money bubble was $54,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was extremely big money bubble. Yeah. So yeah, we were down to like, and I was one of the chip leaders in the tournament, and it's kind of like an embarrassing hand. I mean, it's not as embarrassing now. Like I've thought about the hand, and it's closer than I thought. Like at the time I was like totally thought it was a good play, but now it's like slightly bad.
Got a little
was it at least suited? Was it suited?
No,
it was a 2-4 offsuit.
Yeah. So like we're down to 14 players, and like Faraz Jaka goes all in, and now Vanessa Russo re-raises. And she did not have to re-raise. Like any hand she really had, like if she had a very good hand, like at the time, it looked like she was re-raising almost for information kind of. So it folded around to me, and I had Deuce 4 offsuit, and I'm like, well, if I go all in, she's just gonna fold, and I can free roll against the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, if I could just, if she folds and I pick up the chips on the side, now it's just a total free roll.
What was the
even
flop?
though I'm only.
Well, we're not there yet. He pushes all in. So did you actually push in? Yeah.
I went all in.
Is this pre-flop though, or
yeah, right now?
Okay.
Yeah, this is all pre-flop. So Faraz Jaka was already all in, and now Vanessa like tanks for like 5 minutes. Now, if Faraz gets knocked out, like he should, because me having a 4-bet shove all in there, I should have a very good hand. I should probably beat him. So she's thinking like she's gonna make the money if she just folds, right? Because it's and she tanked for like, I mean, it must have been over 5-10 minutes. It was crazy. And then finally she's like, oh, the hell with it. And she calls 2. And so Faraz had aces, she had queens, and I had Deuce 4. And
they're looking
I forgot
like,
the flop was.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it came like 10-8-4 or 9-4 or something, and like nothing. And then I caught another 4 on the river. And they were, I mean,
send them home. That's amazing.
It was brutal.
They hate
that was
you
brutal
at that point.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing the math right, everybody else loved you because you send them home, and now everyone money or cash.
Everyone's
right?
in the money. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Some of the people came over and were like, "Dude, thank you. You're the greatest." It's like
sick play on the Deuce 4.
Yeah, sick play, idiot.
Yeah, exactly. So
but I've been on both sides of that. It's like, I remember all my bad beats, but that was a crazy one. I'll never forget that hand for sure.
Yeah,
cool.
It's got to feel pretty good. At some point, do you almost feel a little awkward? You go like, yeah, sorry to like knock out with 2-4 offsuit. Like, is it weird for that, or no? You're just like, hey,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because you get to be friends with these people like over time, like, especially when I would play a lot of tournaments, like,
Sure.
I knew all the people. And I would play a lot with Faraz and Vanessa. We've had some battles, and it was like a mutual respect. And like, you have battles at the table, and it's fun. Like it's, so yeah, like you get some, you give some. That's just kind of how the game goes.
So good.
Who's your favorite poker player?
There you go. Putting them in a
Me?
hot crosshairs. I was going to say bet on yourself. Yeah. I was going to ask a little differently. Is there somebody that you don't want to sit with? Not because they're maybe a bad person, but because you're just like, man, they are so good. This is going to be a ride. Like, is there somebody that just works you harder? Not necessarily personality.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like for years and years and years, I'm very cocky, but I'm very realistic as well.
Yeah, so are we.
Like, yeah, I'm very cocky, very realistic. It's like, I mean, if people would ask me like, "Oh, what do you think of him? He's so good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm better than him." I'm like, "No, he kind of sucks." Like, I'm better than him. Like, and I'm just saying it like I'm being honest. Like, yeah, I know I've played a lot with him, and I know I'm better than that guy or whatever. But nowadays, I'm telling you, I play like some very big games, and there's so many people that I like really, really respect. I'm like, damn, this guy is like extremely good. Like, there aren't very many people. And now I think in terms of like No Limit or something, there's probably guys right now that are like, better than me at like, I mean, I wouldn't say many people are better than me by much, if any. Like, I still think I'm like one of the top players in the world, but still cocky. I mean,
Well, you're a competitor, so you're always going to bet on yourself, right? Like, I always laugh.
Sure.
Like, I used to play college football for not such a good team, but we thought we were going to win every week, right? Because it's like, hey, we're going to say, no, they got us this time. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, where'd you play?
I played UNLV here locally. So we
damn.
right just before you started making all your money in 05. I was 03 at UNLV, but it was so we had some fun, but didn't if you bet on us, you probably lost a lot of money. But it was it was a fun ride. What makes somebody get that respect from you when you're like, I'm playing against these guys and damn, they're pretty good? Like, what makes you say it's just they're hard to read, unpredictable, or like what at that level gives you the respect in that game?
Well, for me, it's like, a lot of people would say, "Oh, this guy's so good. He doesn't give much away. He's very, tight, whatever." Like, a lot of people, that's their idea of someone who's good. Like, no, those people just suck to have at the table. They just like,
right.
They just suck. Like,
yeah.
The guys that are very good are like, you're like, "Oh, I got this effort at the table again." Like, he's just like 3-betting me nonstop, or like he's in position. He's like, because like when I play a hand of poker or in general, like it's beneficial to come in like with a raise, right? Because now you have like the benefit of being the aggressor, right? In the hand, and you're just going to win a lot more pots in general. And that's become like well accepted, right? So like, people oftentimes raise, and when you got bad players at the table, they'll call and things like that. But when you got good players, it's just like, they don't let you fuck around, right? So if you raise, they're going to 3-bet you. They're going to make life difficult, So, those are the guys like I just don't want at the table. It's just it's like
they're not going to roll over easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll even ask them nicely. I'm like, "Hey guys, if I open for a raise, like please don't 3-bet me today. Like I don't want to get in big pots. Like if I know I got a good player in my left, I'll just ask them nicely. I'm like, hey,
don't bully me around the table, please.
Yeah, please don't. All right.
I like the side bets.
I was going to say, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I took all my poker advice from the movie Rounders, and one of the things that they say is it's good enough to call, it's good enough to raise. I'm like, I've been trying that. No champion over here, but it's good to hear at least you say, the raising is good.
That was one of the reasons I came out here. I was in college and I watched Rounders like probably a dozen times. I'm like, I'm going for it. I'm going for it.
Gonna go find Teddy KGB out here and just shake him down. Perfect.
You live in Vegas, Joe?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas. Yeah.
Very cool.
And I moved to Vegas from upstate New York, like literally after watching Rounders like a dozen times.
Go chase
and
it.
I'm just like, I'm gonna go for it, man. I had about like 5 or 6K like saved up from like, I played some like low limit games in college and stuff, and I had a few $1,000s, just moved out here, and I knew I could like do pretty well in some of the smaller games, so I just started doing it. And
dang,
but Rounders, man, that was the thing that got me going.
I think it didn't make me anyway a professional, but I know the guys like I was in college with, were we watching that going, well, we should go to the casino because we're in Vegas. So we're like, we should go play, and we usually lose unless it's just us, but yeah, it was motivating. I feel like that movie made everyone feel like they can take it down, right? Like the guy stares down, was it Johnny Chan, who's like the best of the time, right? World champion. And it's like, oh, if you could beat him, like, why not? But
and some of the, like, you look back at, like, I look back at it now and I'm like, oh man, the poker scenes in that movie were just like not very good. Like what they were, it's funny, like No Limit became popular afterwards, but they showed a hand with Matt Damon and Johnny Chan where they put in like 6 bets before the flop, and then Johnny Chan folds for like the 7th bet. Whereas like in real life, you would always call like one more bet to see if you catch a king, right? Like,
right.
He had kings, but it was so funny. I mean, like the poker scenes were pretty funny in that movie.
It's funny I got away with that with the poker, like with Johnny, especially being in the game. You're like, dude, wouldn't he say, hey, this wouldn't happen, right? Like maybe he's just too polite. Just like, I'll just do what you ask me, but that's weird.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny being in the gaming business and watching movies about it. And you're like, that would never, even Ocean's 11. So like I worked for Shuffle Master for a long time, that the company that makes the shuffle decks, and they're going into the casino, changing out the shuffler decks. Like that would never, you just can't do that. It kind of kills gaming movies for me anyways, but kind of a side combo. So another question, I didn't get the last one, was what was your biggest pot? That you won, obviously.
So in real life, well, I mean, in a cash game, I remember one, and then like a cash game, my biggest pot was like $56,000 or something. It was like a no limit pot. Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, that was and I'm very nervous at the table at that time, and
I would imagine,
yeah, it doesn't, and even to this day, like that does not go away. Those nerves do not go away. So but I won like some big tournaments. I won a tournament for almost $1 million. I
was going to ask you. I thought I saw that online saying, "Hey, you won a tournament for about $1 million. How's that? That's got to be a pretty happy day."
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so a tournament's just like the buy-in, right? So like the worst you can do, and at the time it was a 10K buy-in. So the worst I could do was lose like, $6,500. I sold some, or about $7,000. So I sold some or swapped some or whatever. But I'm like, well, that's the worst I can do. And at that time, I was okay with like investing this money in tournaments. And so a tournament, you just go in there and give it a go. It's like if I win, great. But I look at it like a lotto.
Hey, Joe, explain that, because I just learned that selling some of your stake to other people, because for people that are listening, they might not know what that means, and it's fairly interesting.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I mean, I don't do this much, but I know a lot of players that like people who make a living by like selling action, right? Like, and I know I like to invest in other people. Like if I can't go play a tournament, it's like watching the horse races, right? You get to buy a ticket on a horse. It's like, and you get to watch your horse online. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? So there's a ton of value in just like being able to watch a horse online, especially when they like do updates and chip counts and whatnot. Like, so a lot of people, like, let's say I'm going to buy in for $1,000 tournament. Or let's say I'll buy in for like a $10,000 tournament, but I only really want to invest like $2,000 of my own money. So like a lot of people, what they do will like, they'll say, okay, it's a $10,000 tournament, for 10% is $1,000. Plus they charge like, a lot of players will charge some sort of markup, like, give me $1,200 for 10%. So like, or $1,100 for 10%. It's a small markup. I don't know why people just started doing that, like in the poker world.
That's it. Somebody
and
asked
I don't know why.
Like,
not many people even deserve it. People say, "Oh, I'm a good player. I deserve like I'm going to double your money," or whatever. But it's not many people even deserve much of a markup, to be honest. But like that's neither here nor there. But so people would charge like a 1.2% markup or whatever. And so you give them $1,200, you get 10%. And now you just sweat your horse in the or like a smaller piece, right? You buy a $200 piece for 2%, like it,
But if no markups, but if there's no markups in there, you assume like, hey, in that 10K tournament, you sold off about $3,000 worth of that stake. So when you win, let's just round it to $1 million, they get 300,000 is roughly, I mean, they bought in for that. So they take their piece of the prize as well. Is that right? Yeah.
So if I sold off, and that one I sold off about 30% or whatever. I don't know what it was.
It's all good. Like, just example.
So like when I cashed, I was just like, all right, here's your check for this, and here's your check. And then, you got to do whatever tax forms and whatever other stuff. But that's like, it's just kind of how it goes. I mean, now it was always like a handshake deal too. Yeah. It was always kind of, I think that's kind of still how it is. I mean, whatever, there's text messages now and stuff, but for the most part,
I saw an interview with Rob Dyrdek, and he was talking to Dan Bilzerian, and he's in his house and he has a goat on his bed. And he's like, "What the fuck? You have a goat?" And you have he had like a AR-15 up on his wall, a goat, and he's in his bed. He's like, how do you get a goat? He's like, oh, I bought a guy's tournament into the World Series. He got second place. He gave me $1 million and a goat. It's like, what? So he got a goat and $1 million, Dan Bilzerian, for paying $2,000 to get someone into the World Series.
That's a great ROI for that bet. Jeez.
Yeah. But can you imagine getting a goat? You're like, shit, oh, now I have a goat. I guess he bought another one. Now he has 2 goats that just hang out in his bed. They hang out at his house. The guy's got a crazy life. You ever played against
have you ever played against Dan Bilzerian? No, I've played mixed games quite a bit with his brother. But I haven't played with Dan. Yeah, but I've heard I mean, that guy's living the life, it looks like.
If Instagram is to be believed, he's the dream amongst us, man. That's big time.
Rob asked him what his biggest loss was in one hand or in one night. $3.6 million. In one night he lost. But dude, he probably one night he lost $3.6 million. But he probably got paid that in YouTube views just based off of that one thing. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy world, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be making a ton too, though. I don't even know. I don't follow a lot on like the YouTube. I'm kind of learning some from my, my fiance here. She's like more into the TikTok generation and whatnot. Yeah.
She'll have you dancing to lip sync songs in no time.
Dude, for sure, man. Oh my God. The TikTok's funny shit though. I'll tell you, I've done some of the other ones. Like I don't do like any of the other ones anymore. Maybe Snapchat a little bit, but like TikTok's actually really funny.
With that mustache, dude, that you could probably throw some pretty tight little TikToks on. That thing's dope.
No, I haven't posted a video yet.
That thing looks warm. That thing is beefy. I like it.
I haven't posted a video yet. No,
that's so good. You do. I figured you do something with like Lady Gaga's poker face or something remixed with just something that makes it poker appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's cool. So your plan is to get back into some tournaments, man, some poker.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and like, I mean, for me now, I think like my sweet spot is like around $600 to like $1,500 tournaments they have locally, like a bunch of those, which is like perfect. Like I don't, I'm not going to get sick if I lose, and I'm not going to like, but it's still like a good amount where it's like, I feel, a lot of times going out for like a $200 tournament that's going to take all day. It's like, I just don't want to do it, or it's not worth it, or, it just doesn't, but the bigger ones like still add, those are still exciting, very exciting, I think.
Yeah. Do you find the game is a little easier to play at that level? When I say that, because I play like $40, $50 tournaments here and there. And then I realize like guys like me, weirdly, are the ones playing. It's like, whatever. I'm just going to bet my deuce 4 and not have the luck, right? Or they're making plays that you're going, there's no way to read that. Like you could try to bluff and they don't believe it. They don't even realize it. Like, do you find that as a player gets a little bit more experienced that they're actually easier to play against? Because I've found some of these Looney Tunes are a little hard to deal with, but maybe I'm just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, here's what I'll tell you. You got to move up to where they respect your raises.
Got it. Yeah, right. That makes sense.
No, it's bullshit, man.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I'm like, got it.
That's what everyone always tells. Like so that's like the thing that people would always tell. Like that, if someone was playing 1-2, they're like, I'm going to move up to 2-4, and if I bet $30, they're going to respect my raise this time.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of a funny thing, and I'm just kind of trolling you a little bit.
That's okay. Like, yeah, dude. I'm open to it.
Yeah. No, yeah. So like people would always be like, "Oh, you got to move up to where they respect your raises," and it's like, no, it's like it doesn't matter chips are just chips, right? Like if you bet 4 chips and it's like 20 chips to chase the flush draw, and you're like this idiot, like that idiot's still gonna do the same thing when the 4 chips mean 4,000, or whatever,
Interesting.
So yeah, it doesn't matter. Like the money level does not matter whatsoever, other than like you start to get tougher players at like higher limits. Yeah, because tougher people to play against.
Makes sense. Because like for me, I acknowledge that I'm ripe for trolling and gonna make all the mistakes. So it's like I don't know that I'd put 1,500 on myself to win. I'd put 5. I'd throw in on you. I like the program where it's like, hey, you're a pro. I'd buy 500 of your stake maybe, but not so much for me on myself. So that's why I was wondering if it's like these guys are serious, taking it for real, but maybe it's just
and listen, it's like I think a lot of people, if you can play a tournament at like a $40 level, you can play a $400 one as long as you're comfortable with like the money. I mean,
losing it.
You know, yeah. So if you're okay losing like a few $100 for a fun time and a good gamble, and you know, who knows, maybe you get lucky, like then the stakes don't really change, right? The stakes don't really change the quality of the play, I would say, but yeah, I mean, for me, it just provides me more excitement or more nervousness or more, right? If I'm in a 10K tournament now, like, yeah, I'm going to be nervous. Like I'll be more nervous than I was before.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What is your favorite poker game to play? So like I like Crazy.
That's a good point.
Crazy Pineapple. I think Crazy for Pineapple's fun.
Oh yeah. So like normally now when I go out to play, I don't play No Limit Hold'em anymore. I play mixed games. And
so what does that mean? They just mix it up every time, or?
Yeah, they have plaques, and we'll play like some sort of limit mix game, right? So, the first plaque would be like deuce to 7 triple draw. Then we play like all these like crazy. We play like kind of a crazy mix of games. We play like this game called Dramaha, which is like, and I really enjoy. This is like one of my favorite games. It's 5-card draw. Okay. And so, like, let's say I'm dealt like a pair of jacks or something, right?
Sure.
That's a good hand, right? It's 5-card draw, and the pot is split between the best hand in your hand and the best hand on the board. Like you play your best 2 cards in your hand that play on the board. So it's really a weird kind of crazy game, but it's I think it's a lot of fun. It's called Dramaha. Yeah,
that's cool.
Games like those I love. We play Omaha High with like 2 boards.
Yeah, interesting.
It's crazy. It's fun. Like those are the fun games for sure. I love those.
And you just find those here in the poker room, or is that something you guys are doing behind the scenes type of thing?
No, we play it. We play at the Wynn Poker Room. Nice. Probably a lot of guys you might recognize, like Ali Najad. He does the announcing. He runs the game, and like a bunch of other guys that you'd probably know that like are in the game, and it's fun. It's just like, it's pretty good stakes, but it's enjoyable. I mean, I love it.
That's it, cool. Landon. We're gonna have to scrape together 600 to 1,000 each and go play in one of these tournaments just to do it.
I mean, I told you the patience for me. I'd rather just take a couple $1,000 going to a high limit slots. It is or it isn't, and you're gonna know within 10 minutes. You win 30, 40 grand, walk out. That's the night. All good.
That's it, man.
Or you lose 2 grand.
So, Joe, I was going to ask you on that. Do you gamble? I mean, it sounded like you mentioned sports betting earlier, but when you're in a casino, is it poker room and home, or do you mix around the floor and play slots or other types of table games or other things as well?
Yeah, when I first moved out here, I was like really disciplined. Like I didn't have any other leaks or whatever, Yeah. And now, like, whatever, with age and like, I'm starting to appreciate like, the fact that I don't have. If I feel like going playing, like losing a couple hundred in a video poker machine, like I've afforded myself that luxury, I guess I should say. So like. Yeah, why not? Yeah, so I now I start to do a lot more of that stuff. I'm trying to beat sports betting, which is
good luck.
It's sports betting is so interesting. Like I thought I've taken some bad beats on the poker table.
Yep.
And sports betting, you can take like some, just amazing beats. Like it's interesting watching like the equity swing in like a game of basketball or a game of football. It's like, damn, I'm like 95% to win here. And I just go to like 2%, like, with one, like, it's like, so I've taken some bad ones in sports betting too. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. I just enjoy that. I just enjoy it all.
I think you just like the roller coaster of it, right? Like, I think especially like to your point earlier, if you're betting money, you can lose, then it's really just the thrill of it, right? Sometimes is more fun.
Yeah, but it's weird. Like I grew up, my background's not like everyone else in my family got normal jobs. And, I was like the youngest, and I went off to become like a pro gambler. It was, it was kind of like the weird, it's not like I really embrace gambling, and I didn't really embrace the gamble of it until like kind of later on in my career. Like now I embrace the like pleasure of wins and losses, but I mean, it's not like I really embraced it. I'm not necessarily like say, oh, I want to gamble, but it's something I found that I have an edge in, like is poker, and trying to figure that out in sports betting and things like that now too.
Yeah. Did your edge come from like, are you just really good at the math of it where you could calculate odds and probabilities? Like even you're sitting here calculating equity swings in sports, or is it more of a, I could just look at you and read you kind of thing? Like where did your edge come from, in poker when you were getting going?
Oh yeah. It's all like, I think it's all, it's not, I don't think it's reading people. It's just all about the math.
Yeah.
And I was good with math, and it was natural for me in like high school and whatnot. And even college. And like, so I think just naturally, like I would kind of assess the situation at a table just based on like previous experience or whatever. And it's like, and the things I think about, like, let's say I'm going to make a bet on the turn, like where I have just an open ender, or I have just the draw, or, whatever. It's like,
Yep.
Okay. And the things I think about is like, all right, there's $500 in the pot. My opponent has this. I think his range of hands is somewhere around here, and I think if I bet like X amount of dollars, I will get a fold like 60% of the time. And even when I get called, I still have like 20% equity, or, you know what I mean? So it's like kind of numbers are always like running like that.
Sure.
Like that's kind of how you do it. I think it's just like certain times when I think an overbet would be like very effective, and certain times when I think like just a super small bet would be effective. Like it's all about like numbers and percentages.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me watching the betting and then listening to the commentators go, "Ooh, that was a good bet because it was this ratio," and I'm like, "Man, all right, just seemed like a lot to me. I don't know, right? But then obviously I'm not a pro poker player, so does that just come over time, or do you learn as you go certain ratios and certain, like you're mentioning, okay, the pot's this, he has that? I mean, is it just instinctual over time after seeing thousands of hands, or where did you even start to pick up that math? It's not like they teach it in school.
They should.
Yeah, I mean,
they should, right?
Vegas school, anyway.
Yeah, I mean that would be a cool school. I don't like. It just comes with time. It comes over time. It's like, you get in hands, or you'll get in. Like I've gotten into scenarios or hands where, like one of my biggest pots ever, it's like where the guy had aces or kings, and it was ace king something with like 2 to a flush, and I like re-raised 4-bet pre-flop or whatever, right? And he had a set of aces or a set of kings or something, and I made a flush, and I'm just like, I know he can never really fold his hand here, right? And that was like, I knew I could like overbet and get away with it because he can't, it's just based on how the hands play out. You just know the guy has like a really strong hand, and
sure,
I can get away with an overbet or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, you figure it just comes from time, but I was just wondering, I always look at like, I'd be the guy that doesn't play for 5 years, goes to the win with $1,000 and goes, I'm gonna figure this out. Now, obviously I would lose to all the guys that have the instincts and the feel for it, but it's always,
I don't think so though. No? I don't think so, man. Like people don't give themselves enough credit.
Yeah.
Like you really don't. Like you can take $200, go sit at like a 1-3 table, and you can sit there for like, I would say sit there for an hour, fold every hand for an hour, get some drinks, and pay $15. You're gonna lose about $15 just by sitting there for an hour.
Yep.
Or if you're playing 1-2, or I don't know, like you get some free drinks, and you're just like kind of like until you get more of a feel for the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I don't think people give themselves enough credit. Like people are always intimidated, especially like first time going to a table.
Or young. Yeah, I would say that. Like I won one like $50 tournament on my 21st birthday, and I was definitely having a few drinks, so my courage level was high. But I think one of the things I run into is I always assume that you have the best possible hand. So like if I have whatever and I'm like, 2 pairs pretty good, I'll bet it. And I'm like, he could have a royal flush. That's just possible, right? Like so then you always get suckered. And for me, I'm always like, I don't have the courage to lie about it because I always know that I don't have that, right? So
yeah, I mean it's hard to bluff. Like poker's a lot easier when you're actually making hands. Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
Let's say I had a flush draw. Like, I'd rather just make the flush and like bet and have the guy call. Yeah. Like, it's a lot easier. But sometimes like you miss, and it's like, oh, maybe I should semi bluff here. Whatever. But yeah, it's a lot easier when you're making the hands. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
that's why I just like going into a tournament. I'm like, I just hope I draw the lucky seat today. That's all it is.
When you're playing like bigger cash games at the Win back in 2013, 14, I remember I lived by Red Rock, and I would go play cash games just a couple nights a week, and it was just fun. And all the same guys were there, and we'd bullshit. I lose 200, make 200, and we kind of all knew each other. But every now and then, there's always this like one drunk asshole that comes and sits down that has money, and we're all like, yes, this guy's fucked. And he's just all in every hand, rebuy. But I can't imagine at your level being at like the win when you get some like cheek that sits down that just has tons of cash and thinks he's good at poker, and you guys are just hammering him for cash.
Well, it's no, not so. Here's the thing, like especially I'm playing 8160 mixed games, so like the at those limits, like it's very rare you just get a total random that says, "Hey, what's the rules to this one?"
Yeah.
Right? Like, so most people know the rules, and most people like everyone kind of knows what's going on. It's just, and everyone knows like, hey, some people are good, some people are bad. Like, I'm gonna have good days, I'm gonna have bad days. It's just I think I'm better than like a lot of my opponents in that game, right? So, and I just enjoy the gamble of it, right?
Yeah,
cool.
But yeah, I think I'm better than all my opponents in that game. So it's like, let's go,
It's gotta be a cool feeling.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So I know that with poker tournaments, you've played in, I think, all the major ones. I think I was looking at you up and seeing you on World Poker Tour and some of these others. Poker Stars. Is there a favorite place? Not like necessarily casino, but like I've seen some place it's like, man, you're playing in Mexico, you're playing in different European places. Is there a place where you're like, man, this was a great spot for a tournament, I wouldn't mind going back there, like just international location?
I have not really played any. I did a tournament in like in Aruba once, and I've done Poker Stars a couple times, which was cool. I did Atlantis, which is, really nice spot, nice poker. All that is like, but the thing is, I'd rather do one of those trips, like,
for vacation,
with my fiance and,
sure.
and like, I don't want to play like 4 days of poker on a 5-day trip in like the Caribbean or something like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, in terms of like combining the two, I don't know. I haven't done any like, I don't know. I would just mostly stay here in Vegas. I kind of like prefer the tournaments here in Vegas now, and it's good level, good cash games here too. So I'm happy with it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so we're kind of coming to the end of the podcast, and it's weird to ask you a gambling story because we've just talked all about gambling, but we ask all of our guests, like, if you had this crazy fun night in the casino where you won a bunch of money, and you can share it with and maybe we keep it out of the poker world.
I was
gonna
say, what's your like most memorable non-poker gambling experience?
I remember. Oh geez. Well, probably my favorite one. It was in like 2004 or 5 or 6 or something, and it was like with a lot of guys who used to play like big poker tournaments, and there was a poker tournament up in Reno, and we did a night of bowling, and this is before like a 10K tournament. And I mean, these guys were some of the most insane gamblers. Every shot of bowling had like anywhere from like no less than like $300 to $400 to like $4 to $6K worth of action. Jeez. And like to like, I mean, and I'm talking every throw of the ball. Yeah. And it's just like blows my mind. And I'm in there, I'm doing like a couple $100. Sometimes I would have like, but no one shot a ball where there was less than like $300 worth of side action going on.
Collective, yeah.
But it was, there was this guy, the Nod Medic, the Serb we used to call him. And like, I remember a lot of the big, like the big time players were down there, Danny Fuse and like all these other guys, and we'd gamble like huge and just pocketfuls of money. It's like, give me 3 to 1 for 400. Give me 3 to 1 for, it's just crazy. Yeah. And I don't think I'll ever forget that one, but nights like those are fun.
How great is that? I'm sure somebody walked out of there going, how was bowling? Well, I didn't hit a single pin, but I'm up $8,000. So it was great. Right. Like might not be very good at bowling, but I made some money. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That would be fun. You're like, and then a gutter ball. Anytime you get a gutter ball, you just have to pay $500. It just suck. Gutter ball.
Yeah, people would turn around and they'd be like, "Did I have 100? Did I have 200 with you?" And you're like, "No," or like they forgot the action they had because you were like, "All right, you want 2? I'll give you 2 to 1 here, 2 to 1." It's
like a New York Stock Exchange on the bowling alley.
It was flying. Yeah, exactly. How do you even keep it? And that's pre Venmo, so you're like literally got to keep track of all the money.
Yeah, everyone had pockets full of hundreds. And that's how you paid. No one had Venmo. Yeah. No one
exactly.
wrote it down.
No tracking it. That's so good.
Yeah. That's one of my best stories for sure, man.
That's
I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah. I always like it, especially because it doesn't matter if you're a good or bad bowler. It's just like, you're just taking so much action on everything. You're just going, hey, we're going to have some fun with it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, some of these guys thought they were really good. And, they're like, lay 3.5 to 1 on a strike, right? And the guy's maybe going to get 1 strike a game, maybe.
Yeah.
And he's like, give me 3.5 to 1, right? So it's like, 4 or 5 people offer him like, all right, my 700 to your 200 or whatever. It's like, and he hits it and he wins like, 3,500 or whatever. And it's just like, but I mean, how could you say no? It's like, shit.
Good.
I would be in on that. We've had some cash bowling games before. It's been fun. I think John and I were doing like $1,000 a shot one night. John, remember?
That's a lot of beans on bowling.
Yeah.
Man. All right, brother. And then the other question we ask everybody is, if you come on, we do what we call the max bet challenge. So we ask you to call somebody out that we should try to interview on a future podcast. So it could be another gambler like yourself, somebody in the, related to gambling is kind of our deal. So no limits other than that, but bonus points if you can introduce us to that person.
Oh, for sure. Maybe, well, there's a couple things a couple people I could think of, like both in gambling and, one of my buddies is a DraftKings pro, like,
that'd be fun. Yeah.
That'd be great.
He does. Yeah. I think he would be a great interview. And I have, some of my other friends, there's lots of guys in the poker world that I think would be great interviewees, probably better than me for sure.
So call your DraftKings buddy out. What's his name?
Oh,
or can you not say on the pod?
No, I can. I can call out. That's my buddy Al. I can also call out. 2 of my friends just won the Circa and Westgate Super Contest in football.
Oh, really? Jeez.
Or they got second in one and first in the other. And they're great guys. My buddy Mark and Dave. I could definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think that would be a great interview too. Yeah.
Cool. Al, Mark, and Dave. It's almost like Monday Night Football. We're doing it.
I know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but I think that, they would be great. I can recommend you guys or whatever.
That's awesome, man. And then last thing, where should people check you out? Sounds like you're going to launch a new TikTok channel here. If people want to just follow, keep in touch with you, what do they check out?
Oh man, it's not. I'll tell you, like, I haven't been doing a good job. Like, I haven't been keeping up on like social media,
sure,
or anything like that. I got my, I post on Snapchat every once in a while, but it's mostly because like my family watches it. But
sure.
That's at Tehan J there, I think. So yeah, perfect. Some Snapchat buddies would be great. But yeah, I don't really do like Twitter too much anymore or anything like that. Just,
nice. Probably happier without it.
I try not to. I really tried not to have too much of that in my life.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been fun, brother. For me, thanks for making the time. I appreciate you jumping on with us, and looking forward to seeing you win some more tournaments here locally.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.